Welcome to the Indie KidLit podcast. Join Marti Dumas and Elena Paige on their quest to help children's and middle grade authors find the right audience and sell more books.
Hello, it's Elena Paige here. Welcome back again to the Indie KidLit podcast. I'm Elena Paige.
Oh, sorry, and cut you off there.
And you are
Marti Dumas.
Hey, Marti, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing today? It's a little early where I am, but you know, it's all good. How are you?
Good. So we ought to tell our listeners that you are in the US of A at 3 a.m. or 3:30 in the morning.
It's about 3:30 in the morning right now, but you know, I'm a morning person. Maybe not quite this much morning, but like, you know, I like the morning. It's a good time.
And I'm in Australia, and it's about 8:30 p.m. So just so you know, we're like different sides of the world. And
so, how cool is that, though? Like modern times, totally hanging out and doing a podcast with someone who literally lives on the other side of the world. That's kind of cool.
That's
okay,
crazy.
Just say it.
Yeah. So we're both children's books authors trying to crack the code, aren't we? We want to sell thousands, millions of books. Not just because we like making money, because we love writing books and having children read them.
Absolutely. And we've like bought the courses and have learned a ton of information from a lot of the marketing courses that are out there for authors. But the fact of the matter is that it's really different for children's books. Like you're marketing to parents or to teachers, but also the kids at the same time. And it just makes for like an entirely different it's a different strategy. And every time we're out there asking people like, or trying to find like the one thing that has all of it in it, because we would gladly pay money for that thing if it were gonna work, and we would gladly pay money for it. Everybody's kind of like, you can't do it. Like you just can't market indie kids books. It's not gonna work. And we don't believe them. So we've kind of made
We're not giving up. We're
Yeah.
not giving up. We are not giving up. So we decided, didn't we, to start the podcast so we could talk to other amazing authors out there who are doing great things in the children's and middle grade space, so we can discover how we can all together make it work.
That's right. We'll put everybody's little bits and pieces together and we'll figure it out in the end. We won't quit.
So before we bring on today's guest, let's catch up with what you've been working on at the moment, Marti. What have you been working on?
Okay, so I just had my first ever, I feel very grown up about this whole thing. I just had my first ever meeting with a kind of fancy pants developmental editor. And so for people who are not out there kind of dealing with editors yet in their own writer development, there's developmental editors who really are helping you think about the big story and like the big story elements and how those pieces flow together to maximize the like your actual storytelling versus like a proofer or a line editor who is going through and just making sure that you don't have like typos and grammar mistakes or like punctuation errors and whatnot. So the things that you know how to do because you know the rules, but like when it's your own writing, you can't see that you did it. So like passing off. So anyway, I had a meeting with a developmental editor yesterday, and she was amazing. And we had an amazing conversation about a series that I have coming up that right now I'm calling it the Warrior Fairies series right now. And so she read the first book and gave me feedback on the first book in the Warrior Fairy series. And like, I'm so excited about it. I don't actually have it on my calendar to do editing for another few weeks. And it was obviously a mistake for me to have that conversation with her yesterday, because now I want to jump ahead from the project that I am working on to be able to get back into that story. But it's like really cool. I can't wait to be able to share it with people, because I think it'll be so much better for having had that conversation. So what are you up to? Oh, wait, you are asking.
I want to ask you a question, because I'm a question asker. Yeah.
Sure.
So before I interview our author, who is coming up very soon, folks, I promise. So have you started is that person already started doing the developmental edits or not yet?
She's done it. Yeah.
Oh,
So
she's
I
done
gave
it.
her,
Wow.
yeah. So I gave her a completed manuscript, like a first draft manuscript. Like different editors work in different ways. Like some of them won't even take your first draft manuscript. They'll be like, whatever. But like for her, you submit to her 10 pages for her to decide whether or not your project is something that she is like at where she's able to really help you with it yet, right? And then after that, then I gave her the full manuscript, and she kept it for about just shy of a month. And then we had, she sent me the notes, like when she was done with it, she sent me an editorial letter. So it was about 3 pages of pretty detailed like thoughts about what she thought was going on with the story. And then we set a date, like purposefully out a week or so to give you a chance to process the notes so that you can come and ask questions that are not like your first reactive questions, you know, like I'm not actually that way about my writing, which is weird. Like I don't think of it as my baby. So I'm not offended when people give like constructive feedback, but I know a lot of people really do feel like that about their writing. Like it's, you know, how could you say something? It's like kind of a cooling off and thinking period. And then you meet in person in this case and have a conversation to see like so, you know, you can get like live feedback on it. It's like, I agree with this, I disagree with this. Like, what if I tried this? Do you think that that would solve that? And it was cool. It was a really good experience, and it was like really motivating for me.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Love that. And I'd love to see how you think the story ends up because of that process. That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Super. Well, I haven't been doing any story. I haven't been doing any story writing this week, so I've taken kind of a few days to just plan for my next year. Because we're recording this towards the end of 2016, even though people will be hearing it in 2017 or watching. So I've just been working, I've just finished setting up a new website. So I was at superhappykids.com because I was writing kind of really little kid stuff, but now I've moved it all over to elenapaige.com. And plan to grow my stories up. So I don't know why I'm doing that, but that's how it feels like I need to. So I wrote 3 picture books, and now I'm finishing up 7 for kind of, you know, children, meaning like, you know, age 4 to 10 or 4 to 9. Then I'm going to do, and I was just planning that over the last few days, I'm going to do 3, maybe 5 in a series of kind of the chapter book for age 6 to 9. That's kind of how I've been studying it. And then I'm going to do a middle grade, which is trilogy. So I have it very clearly planned out in my head. It's going to be a trilogy called The Magician's Convention, which I don't know what the book's about, but that came to me really early. That's going to be for middle graders. And then
That's brilliant. Wait, can I just pause you there? That's brilliant, because like I want to go to the Magician's Convention and I have questions, like the good kind. Like, is it like actual magicians, or are they like sleight of hand artists who are like calling themselves magicians? Like, don't tell me, because I don't want to, but like I have the questions. Okay.
I couldn't tell you if I wanted to, but my kids are like, when are you going to write that story? We want to know all about the Magician's Convention. And I'm like, when it's time, I have to write the other ones first. Yeah, and then I'm going to do YA, young adult, which is going to be Archangel superheroes. And so that's
pretty sweet as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because the superheroes are going to be the archangels that come down and do all kinds of cool things. And then I don't know, but that's going to be my next year. And I was planning that for the last few days. So we'll see how many of them I get written. So that's me.
Wait, whoa, hold on. I didn't catch that. You're planning to do all of those things in 2017?
Probably not. Oh, probably
I
not
want you to.
Possible.
I'm rooting for you.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for you. That's
well, maybe if I start the Magician's Convention, I can ask one of the magicians to clone me, and then there can be, you know, a few of me.
Boom.
Oh, awesome. Well, let's get on to today's interview. We have a really exciting guest. I'm super excited about this guest. I'm actually a bit of a fangirl of this guest. And, when you talk to an author who you're a fangirl of, it's sort of like, you blush because you're like, oh my God, I'm talking to this author.
So, I know all about author fangirling.
Yeah. And because my kids read this author's books, and so we read them together. It is none other than Justin Johnson, who I'm sure everybody's heard of. If I've heard of him, everybody else has too.
Absolutely.
And he's written at least 20 books. He'll tell us all about them. I think they're more for the middle. Well, we read them more as kind of middle grade, age 7 to 10 kind of age group. Probably best well known for the best-selling book on Amazon, Marti. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you.
There he is.
Yeah, it works.
Well,
I'm successfully unmuted. Yes. So thank you. Wow, that's a really great introduction and very flattering. So yeah.
So tell us about your journey so far. So how many years have you been independent? And you've been independent from the beginning, writing for kids. Is that true?
Yes, I've been independent from the beginning. I work as a school teacher, and I started writing little stories for my class at the end of every year and for Christmas and stuff. And I used to get a bunch of cardstock and put them together with the plastic spiral bound, things. And
that's totally classic, by the way.
Yeah, and classy. So the kids would get these little like 50-page stories with cardstock and stuff. And I go back now and I've reread some of them, and they're really bad. But anyway, I'd been doing that, and then a couple years into that, a friend of mine by the name of John Mercer, he wrote a book. He's a school teacher at the same school. He wrote a book for his students and had it published through CreateSpace, had a really nice paperback made up and everything. And so I kind of got a little jealous and a little envious, and went and picked his brain and found out how to get it done. And then a series was born. I wrote a story for my kids. It came out, had a terrible cover. It was black with red letters, and that was it. And I thought, wow, this is it, because I'm so good now. And I wasn't, but I thought I was. And so I gave that to my kids, and it was, it was perfect for them at the time. And then I did a little more research on Amazon and self-publishing and all that is. And and here I am. I just keep picking up little tidbits of information and refining and keep putting stuff out and trying to make it better than the last thing I put out. So that's that's kind of how I got into it and what I've been doing. And my furnace is kicking on right now, which is super great.
It sounds like you're in a Yeah, it's like you're in a storybook. You're in a storybook, and you're in the basement.
There's like a dragon
scary furnace. I know.
That's totally what I was thinking. I was like, oh, the dragon has been inflamed.
Yeah, no, it's not nearly as exciting as that.
So how have you built up to those 20 books? Just like literally, how many do you put out a year, or do you aim a certain amount? Or do you just write them as they come? Like, how's your process? What's your process?
Hold on just a second. There you go. Can you say that again? Hold on, I'm having difficulty.
That's all right.
Okay. All right, there we go. I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Online? Yeah. No, I was just saying, so, having written already 20 books, and I think we were saying before you came online, you even had a lot of short stories. Did you just naturally kind of write them as they came, or did you have an aim at the beginning of how many books you wanted to write a year? Like, how did you get to where you are now?
Not if you're correct, because I'm picking up a lot of my furnace in my microphone. I'm sorry, this is not stellar, but did you ask me how I wrote so many books and where I get my ideas from? Is that the basic question?
Yeah, and if you had like, did you plan that many books in the beginning, or did it just sort of naturally roller coaster after you started writing a few?
No, I just I just found that I really enjoy writing, and so when I of course the money is enticing, and you get in and you find out that there's an opportunity to make money, and I was listening to a lot of the self-publishing podcast at the time, and so their whole thing was write as much as you can, as fast as you can, and get it out. Write, publish, repeat was a huge book for me, and so that's kind of been my method too. Write, publish, repeat, and so yeah, I just made it a point to get up every morning and write as many words as I can before I had to go to work, and then come home at night, and if I wasn't needed by anybody at home, to sit down and write some more. So that's pretty much it. And I write pretty quickly, and I don't put a ton of thought into it. I just kind of sit down and write what comes next.
Well, you're saying you don't put a ton of thought into it, but I've read a bunch of your stories and they're really cute. They're like a lot of fun. So maybe you're like Stephen Kinging it at this point, where you're like, have had so much experience telling stories with kids and hanging out with kids and thinking about the things that kids like, that it's top of mind for you without having to dig too deep.
Yeah. And it's easy to think like a kid when you never really grow up. Right.
That's awesome. That works.
So, I mean,
I'm down.
I'm not much different than I was when I was 10. You know, farts and boogers still intrigue me.
That's amazing. That's good, because you know you can get right there.
It depends on who's asking. But
I have some questions for you. Like a lot of your titles. So like I have one here that we just finished reading recently. Let's see if I can make it show.
The new one.
Yeah, the new one, Triple Lifetime, right? So my youngest and I read it, or he read it to me. So it took us a few days to get through it. And we both thought it was adorable, that we had a really great time going through it. But you just like launched this book like recently, and it was kind of a quiet launch, but like it like actually launched. So I would love to hear the things that you did to get this book visible in front of people in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, so it was a quiet launch. It did okay. This was my most ambitious launch, right? I mean, I put most of my time into writing. You know, I kind of followed the Dean Wesley Smith model. And for those of you who don't know who Dean Wesley Smith is, he writes a lot of sci-fi and thriller type stuff. And I don't actually like his fiction writing very much. I've read a couple of his stuff or of his things, but I do love his nonfiction, or his his self-publishing take, which is just write, get books out. So anyway, I haven't put a lot of effort or anything into advertising or launching a book. And this time I thought I'd give it a go. And so I contacted a bunch of different authors and said, hey, would you help? I'll help you when I'm done. And they helped. They put stuff out to their mailing list, which was, I don't know how effective that was, but it was something that we tried. I put stuff out to my mailing list, which wasn't huge, but it resulted in a few sales. And then I think the big thing was Amazon ads that I started using this time. I just put like $10 a day into the first 5 days. And being in the kids market, you don't need like thousands of sales in that first week to keep a book visible. You only need a handful of sales a day. So for me, it was like 10 ebooks and 10 or 12 paperbacks every day for the first week was enough. So
you said something intriguing earlier, because you said, well, there's money in it, right? Like you can make money in it. And that is not a thing that I ever hear people say about children's and middle grade books. So what has been different about your experience that has you just throw that phrase out there, well, there's money in it, right? That other people would be like, oh, there's no money. There's no money in kids' books. Like, what's different for you?
There, I think there's been money in it for me. I mean, not enough to quit my job and make this like a full-time endeavor. And I still think it's very risky to try to make this a full-time endeavor, especially with the way things change, right? With Amazon, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later, but with the way Amazon kind of changes things and self-publishing in general and ad platforms and social media and everything. But there is money in it. If, I keep my production costs really, really low, right? I spend about $40 on a cover. I don't illustrate my books. I put in 10 to 15 hours worth of time to write a story that's about 120, 150 pages, and then I publish it. And so within a month, I've made my money back on that story. I make my $50 or my $60, and then after that, it's gravy, and I just keep adding to the gravy train.
Yeah. So you're saying $50, $60. Like, I'm just going to out you right now. Like, I know that you make more than $50, $60 on a lot of the titles that are in your thing. So like,
oh yeah.
What are some of your ones that like have done pretty well? And like, tell us more about them. Like the books, yes, but like also how you got them out there so that they were making more money than $50, $60.
Yeah. So, okay. So Farty Marty. Right. I mean, okay. Let me back up. Nick Stevenson. We talked about Nick Stevenson earlier. Did we talk about this before the podcast, or did you? Anyway,
we totally talked about it before the podcast, but we're on now, so let's talk about it now.
Yeah. Okay. So it was everything kind of happens the way it's supposed to happen, I think, and I was hitting my 1 year mark in publishing, and I'd published 12 books. And looking back on it now, they were all, they were okay stories, but they had horrible covers and they didn't match the market and their keywords were terrible. And I had been following this guy, Nick Stevenson, who writes the Leopold Blake series, and he had been on a couple podcasts and he had written a couple of nonfiction books about keywords and reader magnets and things like that. And I was reading those, and I'm sitting down in my den, which used to be my man cave before we had, the girls take over. So now it's like
there's a kitten above your head, and I'm digging it. That's all. I'm just the kitten.
Yeah, well, this is just the basement, so I don't wake the girls up. But upstairs, there's my man cave, right? My big TV and my collection of DVDs and all that. Except for it's got like little pink Legos and half naked Barbie dolls all over the place. So. You can relate, but maybe you can. I don't know. Anyway, so I was complaining to my wife. I'm like, this guy says it's so easy. He says there's nothing to it, and I'm not seeing anything, blah, blah, blah. And I was like ready to pull the plug at that point. I was like, I'd invested all this time, not a ton of money, but, a lot of emotional investment. And then he came out with his course, your first 10,000 readers. And he sent a progression of 3 free videos via his email list or via his email service. And I downloaded those videos. And the first one was just on keywords. And it was a step-by-step video on how to go onto Amazon and do keyword research. So I spent a couple of hours over the course of a couple of days with a yellow legal pad and a pen, frantically typing keyword starts into Amazon and seeing what came up, and then writing every single thing down, and then kind of like looking at the books and seeing how they were ranked and seeing, okay, what are they doing? And so based on that video, I went in and changed my keywords, but I also noticed, and this is a no-no, and this is something I'm trying to get away from, even though it's made me money, it makes my product look cheap, is I keyword stuff in the titles, right? So books for kids, trip of a lifetime, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. No, it definitely has all that. It's books for kids, the trip of a lifetime, kids fantasy, comma, like it keeps going. Yeah.
In the actual title. Is it in the actual title?
In the actual title.
Uh-huh.
which
Okay.
apparently is against Amazon's terms of service, but they haven't caught me yet. They did catch me using the keyword free in my keywords.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you what, people said, oh, I don't know how effective that is. I don't know if it worked. Guess what? It worked. It worked because as soon as I took it out, sales dropped, free downloads dropped, everything. But at that point, I was just trying to do anything I could. And so what I saw was an instant increase in sales. I went from selling, 2 books a month to my grandmother to selling, 80, 90, 100 books a day because I had a bunch of books out. And at that time, I also noticed that the covers of all the other books were different from mine. So I went on and started looking at stock photography, stock images, and I noticed all the books had pictures of kids and kind of like a fantastical background or something. And so I went through and changed all the covers economically. I paid, at that point, I was a member of Dollar Photo Club, which was $10 a month or $1 an image. And so I could do that. And then I found a cover designer on Fiverr who was really good. Not at the beginning, she wasn't really good, but as I eventually gave her more examples to work off of and more of what I was looking for, she was able to kind of mimic it to make it look similar but different, right? So all my books are kind of my style, but they're close to market examples. So once I made those 2 changes, sales really took off, and it was in the heyday of KDP Select. Not if you were an author of longer works. They really hated the borrow payment method. But guys like me who were writing short stories and 10,000 word books, I loved it, So that was kind of the moment when I realized, okay, there is money in this, and there are a lot of people looking to buy books for their kids. And so that was kind of the moment, Marty. That was a long answer to get around to your question.
No, that was perfect. I feel like, yes, because like the context I think is really important, because like by the time I started doing this, the rules for Kindle Unlimited, what does it even call that at that time? I don't know, but it had changed so that the borrows were page reads by the time I came into the game, and so then it's really different. Like, can you talk about that? Like, what's different now than then?
Yeah. So back then I was able to use a strategy where I priced my books at 99 cents for an ebook, and it didn't matter because anytime somebody borrowed it through their Kindle Unlimited subscription, I was getting paid like $1.40. So I was getting more borrows than sales, but the fact that I was pricing it at 99 cents also kept the rankings up because I would sell 6 or 8 or 10 copies of a book every day at 99 cents, which is nothing for royalty. It's like $3 royalty on that book during a day, but that would keep me up in the rankings. And so it would be borrowed 20 times that same day. And if it was borrowed 20 times at $1.40, all of a sudden you're making $30 on a book every single day. After I started doing that, I wrote 5 books in a month.
Right, that adds up.
Like, get them out, get them out, get them out. and that was bad. That was bad because 2 things happened. One, I was writing at a pace I couldn't sustain, right? And 2, I was putting out books that probably weren't real books, right? They were short stories. They weren't, I was writing for the money at that point. I wasn't writing because I had kids who were going to enjoy the story. I wasn't writing because I wanted to write the story. I was writing because I wanted to make more money at that time because I was seeing that, the money was there. So that was a couple of, I think that was February 2014 to like June of 2014. And then July.
And then, yeah. And then what happened?
Then July of 2014 hit. I was on a vacation with my wife and daughters. We were going down to Georgia to visit my wife's brother, and it was, school had just gotten out, so we were on summer vacation, and I had been making thousands of dollars every month on these cheap little stories, tarnishing my authorial reputation, and we left on June 30th, and we stayed at a hotel, and then July 1st, the Kindle changes to page reads came in. And at that point, people were talking about, oh, what's this going to mean? Well, this is good because you just have to, short stories are not going to be impacted because you just have to write better stories. And so they'll want to read it anyway. And people were throwing out numbers, you get a penny a page, you'll get 10 cents a page, you'll get 5 cents a page. And I'm sitting there doing the math. I'm like, if I get 5 or 10 cents a page for a 20-page, 30-page book, that's actually more than I'm making now. So that's pretty good. Well, half a cent per page, right? That's what Amazon eventually settled at. And I think it's actually less now. I think it might be like a third of a cent per page. And I'm sitting there complaining. I'm like, Dickens even got like 10 cents a word or something like that when he was but I'm no Dickens. So, yeah, instantly. I think June of 2014, I think I brought in $3,000, and July of 2014, I brought in $200.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And at that point, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I love the way you remember it, like to the day, like it was such a big event in your brain.
It was so devastating because I was looking at making this my job. I was like, I can do this. Because I was like, I can make more money doing this per hour than I could, going to school and teaching. And, there were some things happening in the teaching world that was not very enticing, i.e., Common Core and being told exactly how to run your classroom and and I'm not a big fan of that. That's why I self-publish. That's why I do the indie thing and don't chase the trad public. I don't like people telling me what to do. So I was like, okay, time to sit back and kind of really think about what I want to do and what I'm really getting out of this. And maybe the problem isn't the job, and maybe the problem isn't Amazon. Maybe the problem is me and my mindset and what I'm doing. And so, so that was a big summer for me. That was a summer. I kind of took the summer off of writing. And I'm gonna be real honest with you guys right now. Okay.
Please do.
At that point in time, I was an alcoholic. And so, that was July 2014. That was the date that I started getting sober. So I've been sober since July 2014. And Amazon, thanks. Yeah. So Amazon had a big part to do with it, though.
That is probably a thing that they don't have like in their ratings anywhere. So like, maybe somewhere like you can end up being a poster child in a way.
Yes. Amazon got me over.
Thank you, Amazon.
Is that,
yeah, no.
Is that because I'm wondering if is that because you couldn't afford the alcohol after that?
Oh no! I started making my own. It was ridiculously cheap. Yeah, no. I had a basement with like 300 bottles of wine and 30 gallons of beer, all on tap, all homemade. It was
totally ready for the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, okay. No, it had nothing to do with not being able to afford it. It was just that and the birth of my second child, and just kind of figuring out what kind of person I want to be, what kind of teacher I want to be, what kind of writer I want to be, what kind of dad and husband I wanted to be. It just kind of forced me into a place where I had to make some decisions. And so, so I spent the last 2.5 years kind of figuring out what I want to do. And publishing has played a big role in that, but it's taken the back seat for a while. I think this is the first story I've really published in a couple months. So yeah, but
so did it really make you look at yourself in terms of, like, I mean, from the sounds of things, even though you loved writing stories, it was possibly, you know, the thrill of actually it being your job and making money doing that. Did that suddenly change to, I actually love being a storyteller and I'm going to do this no matter what?
Not until recently. I'm a slow to warm up kid, and I'm also a slow to get over things person. I'm really introspective and I do a lot of brooding. And so I brooded for a good year over the, you know, and I check my sales every day, and every day it was like that 4 a.m. kick in the gut. Another $7 day. And I look at it now and I'm like, some people would really love $7 days, but
I have $7 days, just so you know. I have $7 days. I get really excited when I have a $7 day.
Right. And there was a time I would have been really excited about a $7 day, but at that point in time I was making $150 a day. So a $7 day relative to that was really depressing. Yeah. And of course, you know, the money I was making at that point in time, I wasn't really smart with. I didn't funnel it back into the business. I didn't work on advertising. I didn't work on making connections. I sent my wife to Kansas City. I bought a basketball hoop. I bought tons of books for the kids. I bought tons of books for myself. You know, I'm like the athlete that's found fame, right? I'm going to go buy a house for my mama, right? That was me. That was me. Instead of putting it back into, you know, I'd put enough to make the next book. And that was it. And so, and pay taxes, of course. You got to keep some aside for that. But yeah, so the last year has just been kind of getting my mindset right and getting ready to kind of, you know, even though I've had some success, I want to change the way I'm getting that success and kind of do it a little more on the up and up and do it more on the right path. And so with this last book, I started you know, going through Amazon ads, and what I've found is Amazon ads, if your book is market ready, if it looks like something that parents are going to like and your copy is enticing and your price is right, those ads are going to work. And so just as an experiment, I put out a book called The Jungle. It was a serialized book. By the way, don't do serials. If you're a children's author out there, don't do serials. People hate them. Even if you let the first book go for free and you advertise to the whole series in the back, people still don't like that. They feel ripped off.
So can you sorry for the can you explain what a serialized book is?
Oh, yeah. So a serialized book, I was listening to a lot of self-publishing podcasts, and they made their big start doing these serialized books, which is basically you write 7,000 to 10,000 words, and you don't end the story. You leave it off at a cliffhanger so that people go on to the next book, and then you do the same thing. Right? So I would have 5 or 6 books that were that 7,000 to 10,000 word range that would leave people going to the next book, and then the last book would be the end. And then I'd bundle them up, put them out as a box set for a slightly higher price than one episode, and I would link from the first book to the box set, feeling like I'm not being as sleazy this way because I'm letting you know you can get a deal. But people still, they didn't like that. I used to kind of justify it as saying, well, it's Netflix for ebooks, but I've recently come to realize that, okay, Netflix, I pay my $8 a month and I can watch as many series as I want, versus, okay, I pay my $3 for this ebook, then I have to go pay $3 for another, and $3 for another, and $3 for another, and I'm never getting the whole story. And it didn't really occur to me until Amazon started doing their series pages, right? They put the series at the bottom of the page. And so you look, and over to the left-hand side of the screen, it tells, you know, it shows the whole series and the price. And I looked, and I had this Zach and Zebo series, which I really enjoy that story, and I think it's a great story. But I looked, and it's like $18 to buy the whole series, and I'm like, it ain't worth 18 bucks. You know, when I wrote the thing, I don't think it's worth 18 bucks. And of course, when you do that, they don't put the complete series along with it. They don't say you can get this for $3 or $4. They say it's 18 bucks. And so so I had to kind of retool there. So I've unpublished all of those, and the only thing that are left are the box sets for $2.99.
Okay.
And the paperbacks.
Well, that's good advice. That's good advice about the serialization. Yeah, like I know there's some other authors
as well.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Had you serialized the paperbacks as well?
No, and that was the thing. The individual episodes were only available in ebook, and then when I bundled them, I made one big paperback. Although during Zach and Zebo, that was still kind of I was writing that while Amazon was making the KDP Kindle Unlimited change. That I actually did a paperback for books 1 through 3, and then another paperback for books 4 through 6, which I've since retired, because people would buy the 1 through 3 one, and I'd make a little bit of royalty, but I never saw any sales on the 4 through 6. So I can imagine a lot of people dumping those in their garbage and cussing me out. You know, when they get to the end of it and they realize, holy cow, there's still story left, and there's no ending at all in sight. So yeah, you know, mistakes made, learned from, trying to make it right now. And the cool thing is there are so many people out there that that I think I'll be okay. Right? Not enough people know about me that I can kind of change directions, which is the cool thing about being indie. It's frustrating that there aren't enough people buying your stuff, but if you really want to change, that actually works to your advantage.
So what sort of price point do you think, in your opinion, kind of works in the children's market? Like, have you played around with that a bit? Have you tried pricing higher? Have you tried pricing lower? Like, where do you sit on that one?
Okay, so 99 cents. Let's go ebook and paperback, right? Ebook first. 99 cents will get you more sales, but obviously makes you less money, right? Because Amazon doesn't want you pricing ebooks at 99 cents because they're only giving you a 35-cent royalty. And I'm only going to talk about Amazon because I've tried going wide a couple times, and I sell nothing. I sell nothing on Apple. I sell nothing on Barnes & Noble. I sell nothing on Kobo. So Amazon, I think, is the place to be if you're a kid's author or if you're a lazy guy who just likes to write and put stuff out. That'd be me. Amazon's the playground to play in. So 99 cents will get you a lot of sales. And it was good when they were paying by borrow, but now they're paying by page read. So it doesn't make the author much money at all. $2.99 will get you less sales, but you start to present yourself as a more quality product, right? So what I have seen recently is with The Jungle, I took all the keyword stuffing out of the title. So it just reads The Jungle, the complete series now, which I kind of like looking at. And I've put $5 in advertising into that book. Now, the $5 that I've put advertising into that book gets me about 2 ebook sales per day, okay, at the $2.99 price. So that's $4 and some change profit there on the ebook side. I think most parents are willing to pay $2.99 for an ebook for their kid, even if it's a short story. I have my short stories out there at $2.99, and I get, you know, I'll get a sale or 2 a day on certain ones. Like Farty Marty, for instance, usually I can get a sale or 3 or 4 sales a week at the $2.99 price. What I've started doing is I'm keeping everything at $2.99. So in my product description, I put a link, like if I have a short story, I'll link to the collection that it's a part of and say, you can get this and like 5 other stories for the same price. Just cut and paste. So I think $2.99 works. I have priced things at $4.99 for the box sets and things. Not good. Not good. And I do have I have a 4-box set collection, right? So it's Kobe Collins, Zach and Zebo, Scab and Beads, and Grade School Superhero. I have that out for $7.99 now. I had it for $9.99 and pushed some advertising behind it and made some sales, but those dried up really quickly. Like those stopped even with the ads. So I think $2.99 is probably the price point if you want to be taken seriously and you want to be making a little bit of money, right? But I still go back to you have to have a lot of books out there for people to go to, right? We got to get,
and that's probably Amazon too, isn't it? Because what I've heard is, you know, like on other platforms, I agree with you. It's really hard to gain that traction. But people on the other platforms do pay more for their books than Amazon people expect to pay for their books. So, you know, but they're more like real bookstores in the sense that the algorithms don't benefit you through sales. They have to pick your book and promote it, kind of put it in a prominent place.
Right. And honestly, you know, just frankly, this is a side thing for me. When they changed their pay structure and things changed on a dime, that was the moment that I said, I could never do this full time. I'm not willing to risk that much, you know, with a family and the house and bills to pay and everything. So, this is a great thing to make some extra money. And I'm making some extra money, and I want to make a lot of money. I want to make, you know, money to put my kids, you know, through college and pay off the house and all that stuff. But, for me, the risk is just too big to try to make it a quote unquote career. So I'm going to play with Amazon for a while and see what that can snag me at the moment. As far as
keep going.
Oh, I was just going to say, as far as paperback pricing, I've had luck. I've had luck at $6.99 for anything under 200 pages. Keep it at $6.99. If it's over 200 or 300 pages, I've had some luck at like $10.99 and $11.99. I'm going to get away from that though, because somebody pays $10.99 for my book, I get $2. That book took me 2 months to write. I get $2. A book that takes me 1 month to write, that someone pays $6.99 for, I get $2. Right. So I'm getting the same amount no matter how long it takes me to write it, and no matter how much they pay, you know. So from a business standpoint, I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to keep everything under 150 pages. I think that's a good length. This last book, The Trip of a Lifetime, kind of fell into that range. It was a little shorter than that, but I'm able to sell at $6.99, and I've had some luck with that.
Yeah, that's a good strategy, actually. That's clever to think like that from the beginning. I was just going to change tactics slightly. I wanted to ask you a bit about your mailing list and how good a tool you find that. Do you find, because I know the advice is build your mailing list. Has that worked for you to build your mailing list? Do you have like people that buy everything the minute you put it out because they're on your mailing list?
Yeah, so the mailing list, I think it's an important tool. I think in the kids space, I think we get more kids on our list than we anticipate. I think we assume that if someone's getting a book off of Amazon, they're going to read it with their kid. I don't have kids old enough to go on Amazon. Elena, I'm sure. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Anyway, I don't know if your kids go on Amazon alone, but I've gotten some emails from kids after I've sent out email pushes to my list, and they're majorly disconcerting. You just feel like, okay, something has gone wrong here. So I think we do get quite a few kids on our list, even though we don't want them. And I've actually put a disclaimer up on my new sign up page, you know, only if you're 18 or older, parents only kind of thing. As far as a sales tool, I don't think email lists in the kids market, I don't think they're really good for generating sales. What I think they could be good for is generating reviews, right? So they like free. Most of us, I stopped putting my books out free at all. I don't have anything free unless it's through a promotion now. So everything's paid. But you offer them a free thing, and then you want to turn around and have them pay. In my experience, I might not be doing it right either. I don't know. You know, I don't have a lot of finesse. I'm just kind of a straight ahead kind of guy. So I haven't had any luck getting my list to pay for anything. What I have had luck with is getting them to download something for free and then asking them to leave a review. Right. And reviews are important, especially if you're going to start advertising, if you're going to start doing paid ads. It's nice to launch a book with 12 reviews on it, you know? So, so that's how I'm going to use my list going forward. I'm going to offer free stuff and then ask for reviews on the back end, but I'm not going to ask them to pay for anything anymore. So that's, I don't know if it's right, but it's what I've experienced, and it's kind of where I'm going to go. So.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting strategy. I think that's, you know, I mean, a lot of people have separate review teams, but, you know, having your whole list kind of almost as a potential review team, I think that's something worth experimenting with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely.
So we'll see. I'll let you know.
I think that should go in the thing. Justin, we're going to have you on one time just so that you can talk about your experience with the Amazon ads. Like, we'll just kick you off with that, like, from the very beginning, because I have a feeling that we're going to be able to get a lot of really good information from you about that. But it's almost the end of our time. I want to catch you on we have like a standardized closing question, which is, I love it because I think it's mean, but also not mean. So we recognize as authors that it's important to read children's books, not just only to write them. And so the question that I would like to ask you here at the end is, what was the last book that you read with your kids or two kids that wasn't one that you wrote?
What was the last book that I read with my kids that wasn't what?
A book that you wrote.
Oh, I very rarely read my books with my kids.
Oh, so then this is easy for you.
So like, I mean, it's almost Christmas time, so we're reading The Grinch, and we're reading The Polar Express, and we're reading Rudolph and stuff like that. But no, I very rarely read my books with my kids. Yeah, they're just not old enough yet, and you know, they know Daddy writes, but they're not ready. I've tried with the 5-year-old. She likes one of my stories, Skeeter Skunk and the Glandular Funk. She really liked that story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a bestseller. I've sold 3 copies in a year and a half. It's a stellar seller. But that was just a fun book. And she enjoyed that, but most of my stuff I don't read with my kids. Lots of other stuff.
Do you read your books with your class at school? Like, what age do you teach? Do you read them your books? Do you get any feedback? Aren't they? Yeah, it's like you've got market. You've got a group there that can give you feedback.
You know, I've been all over the place teaching. I've taught kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 4th grade, and and you can kind of see it in the books that I've published through those time periods. So when I started, I was teaching 2nd grade, so I wrote, you know, mostly for like 7 to 10-year-olds. And then I went to kindergarten for like 3 years, and that was like all the short stories and the really kind of, even though I wasn't writing for my 5-year-olds at school, I was kind of in the shorter story mindset. And then I went to 4th grade, and I wrote Zach and Zebo, which is kind of a longer form, more introspective, 6th grade kid, just finished state tests, you know, that kind of thing. And now I'm back with the 2nd graders. So I wrote, you know, like The Trip of a Lifetime, and I'm getting ready to launch a new series called Evan Copper Planet Hopper. So it's kind of changed, but yes, I do read my books to the kids at school when we can fit them in.
Awesome.
Usually around holidays and breaks and things like that, I'll be able to squeeze out, a couple hours during the course of the week.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. I really think that that's like a lot of fun for kids to be able to see another side to their teacher. It's like getting like a secret private audience into your teacher's brain, which, let's just be honest, like most kids want. Like they don't want to believe that you exist outside of the school building, but like they also want to believe that you have this like, that it's secretly you're like a secret agent or an author, like either one.
Yeah.
And so they probably think that that's amazing. It has been so much fun to talk to you, Justin. Thank you for coming to hang out.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah. So are you off to school now?
I am. We got a ton of snow up north. My wife actually just texted me. Her school is closed, which is super good because now I don't have to pack lunches or worry about them driving in the snow. So they get to stay home and watch Netflix and play with toys all day. And I'm going to be going to work. But
all right, so that sounds like win-win-win and sort of win.
It's okay. It's okay. Some days the kids at school are easier to handle than my own. We have the structure. We have the structure of the box, right? Right. We have the big box with all the desks in it.
Okay.
It makes it.
So then you keep it contained. Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's been really great to be able to hang out with you, and thank everyone who is watching or listening for joining us on the Indie KidLit podcast. And for show notes or just to be in touch with us, you can visit us at www.indiekidlitpodcast.com. And we hope that you are at least one step closer to finding your own audience and selling a lot more books.
And before we sign out, before we say final goodbye, Justin, tell us where people can find you online.
Well, you can visit my author page on Amazon.com, or you can go to JustinJohnsonAuthor.com, which is a big time work in progress at the moment.
Very great. And we'll put those in the always, right? We'll definitely put those in the show notes as well at www.indiekidlitpodcast.com. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.